Improvement of the Mind by Isaac Watts and Stephen Norris Fellows. Rules relating to observation. First, though observation, in the strict sense of the word, and as it is distinguished from meditation and study, is the first means of improvement, and in its strictest sense does not include in it any reasonings of the mind upon the things which we observe, or inferences drawn from them, yet the motions of the mind are so exceedingly swift that it is hardly possible for a thinking man to gain experiences or observations without making some secret and short reflections upon them. And therefore, in giving a few directions concerning this method of improvement, I shall not so narrowly confine myself to the first mere impression of object on the mind by observation, but include also some hints which relate to the first, most easy and obvious reflections or reasonings which arise from them. First, let the enlargement of your knowledge be one constant view and design in life. Since there is no time or place, no transactions, occurrences, or engagements in life which exclude us from this method of improving the mind. When we are alone, even in darkness and silence, we may converse with our own hearts, observe the working of our own spirits, and reflect upon the inward motions of our own passions in some of the latest occurrences in life. We may acquaint ourselves with the powers and properties, the tendencies and inclinations both of body and spirit, and gain a more intimate knowledge of ourselves. When we are in company, we may discover something more of human nature, of human passions and follies, and of human affairs, vices and virtues, by conversing with mankind and observing their conduct. Nor is there anything more valuable than the knowledge of ourselves and the knowledge of men, except it be the knowledge of God, who made us and our relation to him as our governor. When we are in the house or the city, wheresoever we turn our eyes, we see the works of men. When we are abroad in the country, we behold more of the works of God. The skies above, and the ground beneath us, and the animal and vegetable world round about us may entertain our observation with 10,000 varieties. Endeavour, therefore, to derive some instruction or improvement of the mind from everything which you see or hear, from everything which occurs in human life, from everything within you or without you. Second, in order to furnish the mind with a rich variety of ideas, the laudable curiosity of young people should be indulged and gratified rather than discouraged. It is a very hopeful sign in young persons to see them curious in observing, and inquisitive in searching into the greatest part of things that occur. Nor should such an inquiring temper be frowned into silence, nor be rigorously restrained, but should rather be satisfied with the proper answers given to all those queries. For this reason also, where time and fortune allow it, young people should be led into company at proper seasons, should be carried abroad to see the fields, and the woods, and the rivers, the buildings, towns, and cities, distant from their own dwelling. They should be entertained with the sight of strange birds, beasts, fishes, insects, vegetables, and productions of both nature and art of every kind, whether they are the products of their own or foreign nations. And in due time, where Providence gives opportunity, they may travel under a wise inspector or tutor to different parts of the world for the same end, that they may bring home treasures of useful knowledge. Third, among all these observations, write down what is most remarkable and uncommon. Reserve these remarks in store for proper occasions, and at proper seasons take a review of them. Such a practice will give you a habit of useful thinking. This will secure the workings of your soul from running to waste, and by this means even your looser moments will turn to happy account both here and hereafter. And whatever useful observations have been made, let them be at least some part of the subject of your conversation among your friends at next meeting. Let the circumstances or situation in life be what or where they will, a man should never neglect this improvement which may be derived from observation. Let him travel for his own humor as a traveler, or pursue his diversions in what part of the world he pleases as a gentleman. Let prosperous or adverse fortune call him to the most distant parts of the globe. Still let him carry on his knowledge and the improvement of his soul by wise observations. In due time, by this means, he may render himself some way useful to the societies of mankind. Fourth, let us keep our minds free as possible from passions and prejudices, for these will give a wrong turn to our observations, both on persons and things. The eyes of a man in the jaundice make yellow observations on everything. And the soul tinctured with any passion or prejudice diffuses a false color over the real appearance of things, and disguises many of the common occurrences of life. It never beholds things in a true light, nor suffers them to appear as they are. Whensoever, therefore, you would make proper observations, let self with all its influences stand aside as far as possible. Abstract your own interest and your own concern from them, and bid all friendships and enmities stand aloof and keep out of the way, in the observations that you make relating to persons and things. If this rule were well obeyed, we should be much better guarded against those common pieces of misconduct in the observations of men, viz., the false judgments of pride and envy. How ready is envy to mingle with the notices which we take of other persons! How often is mankind prone to put an ill sense upon the action of their neighbors, to take a survey of them in an evil position and in an unhappy light, and by this means we form a worse opinion of our neighbors than they deserve, while at the same time pride and self-flattery tempt us to make unjust observations on ourselves in our own favor. In all the favorable judgments we pass concerning ourselves, we should allow a little abatement on this account. Fifth, in making your observations on persons, take care of indulging that busy curiosity which is ever inquiring into private and domestic affairs, with an endless itch of learning the secret history of families. It is but seldom that such a prying curiosity attains any valuable ends. It often begets suspicions, jealousies, and disturbances in households, and it is a frequent temptation to persons to defame their neighbors. Some persons cannot help telling what they know. A busy body is most liable to become a tattler upon every occasion. Sixth, let your observation, even of persons and their conduct, be chiefly designed in order to lead you to a better acquaintance with things, particularly with human nature, and to inform you what to imitate and what to avoid, rather than to furnish out matter for the evil passions of the mind, or the impertinencies of discourse and reproaches of the tongue. Seventh, though it may be proper sometimes to make your observations concerning persons as well as things the subject of your discourse in learned or useful conversations, yet what remarks you make on particular persons, particularly to their disadvantage, should for the most part lie hid in your own breast, till some just and apparent occasion, some necessary call of Providence, leads you to speak to them. If the character or conduct which you observe be greatly culpable, it should be so much the less be published. You may treasure up such remarks of the follies, indecencies, or vices of your neighbors as may be a constant guard against your practice of the same, without exposing the reputation of your neighbor on that account. It is a good rule that our conversation should rather be laid out on things than on persons, and this rule should generally be observed, unless names be concealed, wheresoever the faults or follies of mankind are our present theme. Eighth, be not too hasty to erect general theories from a few particular observations, appearances, or experiments. This is what the logicians call a false induction. When general observations are drawn from so many particulars as to become certain and indubitable, these are jewels of knowledge, comprehending great treasure in little room. But they are therefore to be made with the greater care and caution, lest errors become large and diffusive, if we should make mistake in these general notions. A hasty determination of some universal principles, without a due survey of all the particular cases which may be included in them, is the way to lay a trap for our own understandings, in their pursuit of any subject, and we shall often be captives into mistake and falsehood. Neveu in his youth observed that on 3 Christmas days together there fell a good quantity of snow, and now hath writ it down in his almanac, as a part of his wise remarks on the weather, that it will always snow at Christmas. Huron, a young lad, took notice 10 times that there was a sharp frost when the wind was in the northeast. Therefore, in the middle of the last July, he almost expected it should freeze, because the weathercocks showed him a northeast wind, and he was still more disappointed when he found it a very sultry season. End of chapter 3. Read by Lee Breyer, Red Deer, May 2022.